The tiny dragon with a big heart. Once upon a time, in the faraway mountains, where the peaks kissed the clouds and the valleys glistened with silver rivers, there lived dragons. They were mighty creatures, known across the world for their fearsome wings, fiery breath, and glittering scales that shone like jewels in the sunlight. But among them lived one dragon who was different. His name was Ember. Unlike the other dragons, Ember was very small. While his brothers and sisters grew as tall as castle towers, Ember was no bigger than a sheep. His wings were delicate and stubby, his flame no more than a puff of warm smoke, and his roar sounded more like a squeak. The other young dragons laughed at him. "Ember, you'll never scare a knight like that," they teased. "You should be guarding rabbits instead of treasure." Another snickered. Ember drooped his head. It was true, he wasn't fierce. He wasn't scary. He wasn't like the others. But what no one noticed, what no one ever cared about, was that Ember's heart was different too. It wasn't filled with pride or greed, as dragon hearts often were. Ember's heart was big, soft, and full of kindness. When the others fought over treasure, Ember gave away shiny pebbles to the birds. When they roared to show off, Ember sang gentle songs to the flowers. And when they tried to burn villages, Ember secretly blew out their flames, saving the homes of humans below. He wanted to belong. He wanted to matter. But more than anything, Ember wanted to be loved. And so his story began. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose, Ember sat on a cliff by himself. He watched the other dragons fly together, their wings stirring the wind into whirlwinds of power. They looked magnificent, united, proud. Ember sighed. He spread his little wings and tried to flap like them, but he could barely lift himself off the ground. He blew out a puff of smoke and coughed. "Why was I made so small?" he whispered to the sky. "I want to be strong. I want to help. I want someone to see me for who I am." That night, as stars blinked awake, Ember made a wish. "If I can't be the biggest dragon, maybe I can be the best at something else. Please, let me find my place." The stars shimmered softly, as though listening. Ember curled up under the moonlight, his little heart aching but hopeful, not knowing that the wish he had made would lead him on a journey beyond anything he could imagine. Not far from the mountain lived a small village. The villagers feared dragons, for dragons often swooped down to steal sheep or cows. But this village was lucky. The dragons usually kept away. One day, Ember wandered too close. His stomach rumbled with hunger, but instead of stealing, he sniffed curiously at the scent of bread and stew. He crept behind a barn, his small tail flicking nervously. "Dragon!" A child's voice squealed suddenly. Ember froze. A little girl stood there, clutching a basket of apples. Instead of screaming or running, she tilted her head. "You're tiny," she said. Ember blushed under his scales. I didn't mean to scare you," he stammered. The girl giggled. "Scare me? You look like a baby lizard with wings." Ember drooped, but the girl smiled kindly. "I'm Mira. What's your name?" "Ember," he said shyly. Mira glanced around, then leaned closer. "Don't worry, Ember. I won't tell anyone you're here." To Ember's surprise, she held out an apple. "Are you hungry?" His eyes widened. No human had ever been kind to him before. Slowly, he took the apple in his claws and nibbled it. Sweet juice dribbled down his chin, and Mira laughed. That evening, for the first time, Ember didn't feel so alone. From that day on, Ember and Mira met in secret. She brought him bread, berries, and milk, and he told her stories about the dragons in the mountains. Myra's favorite was when Ember described the way dragon scales sparkled like rainbows in the sun. "But your scales are pretty too," she told him once, touching his small golden patch. "You shine like a candle flame." No one had ever said that to Ember before. Sometimes, Mira asked him to light her lantern. Ember would puff a tiny flame, just enough to make the lantern glow. Mira clapped and called it magic. They laughed together, sang songs, and watched the stars. Ember learned that Myra's family was poor, that she dreamed of traveling beyond the village, and that she believed even the smallest creature could do great things. Her words filled Ember's heart with warmth. Maybe he didn't need to be big. Maybe he just needed to be brave. But peace never lasts long where dragons are concerned. One night, the great dragon elders gathered. A band of knights had been seen near the mountains, carrying swords and shields. They planned to attack, to steal dragon treasure. "We will strike first," thundered Blaze, the largest dragon of them all. His scales glowed red like fire. "We will burn their villages to ash." The others roared in agreement. Ember's heart sank. Burn villages? That meant Myra's home would be in danger. "No," Ember whispered, but his voice was too soft. No one listened. As the dragons took flight, Ember trembled. He was small. He was weak. But he couldn't let them hurt Mira. That night, when the dragons soared toward the village, Ember darted ahead secretly. His tiny wings beat desperately against the wind. He reached the village first and spotted Mira near her house. "Mira," he squeaked. She gasped. "Ember, what's happening?" "The dragons are coming. They want to burn everything." Myra's face went pale. Ember's little heart pounded. He knew he couldn't fight them, but maybe he could delay them. Maybe he could protect her. He flew up into the night sky, puffing smoke as a signal. When the dragons arrived, Blaze snarled. "Ember, what are you doing here?" "Please," Ember begged. "Don't hurt the people. They've done nothing wrong." "Move aside, runt," Blaze growled. "You're too small to stop us." The other dragons laughed cruelly, but Ember spread his tiny wings wide. "Then you'll have to go through me." For the first time in his life, Ember wasn't thinking about being small. He wasn't thinking about being weak. He was thinking about Mira, and that gave him courage. Blaze roared and lunged. Ember dodged, barely escaping the sweep of his massive claws. The other dragons circled, their eyes blazing with fire. Ember puffed his little flame. It was nothing compared to their infernos, but he used it to light hay bales on the hill, creating smoke that confused them. The villagers saw the smoke and began to hide, protecting their children. Mira shouted for them to stay safe. Blaze roared in fury. "You disgrace us, Ember. Dragons are meant to rule, not beg." But Ember shouted back, "A true dragon protects, not destroys." His words echoed across the valley, surprising even himself. The battle raged on. Ember darted, twisted, and dodged. But he was tiring. His small wings ached, and his flame sputtered. Just as Blaze prepared to strike the final blow, the full moon broke through the clouds, casting its silver light over Ember. Mira, watching from below, cried out, "Ember, you can do it! You're stronger than you think." Something stirred in Ember's chest. His heart, so big, so full of love, blazed with warmth. And suddenly, his flame grew brighter. He roared. Not loud like the others, but clear and true. His fire burst forth, golden and pure, wrapping around Blaze's attack and pushing him back. The other dragons gasped. Blaze snarled, but for the first time, he looked uncertain. The villagers gathered, staring in awe at the tiny dragon who stood between them and the mighty beasts. Ember panted, his flame flickering, but his heart steady. "Why fight?" he called to the dragons. "Why destroy when we can live in peace? The humans aren't our enemies. They can be our friends." The other dragons hesitated. They had never heard such words from one of their kind. Blaze roared again. "Dragons do not befriend humans. They fear us, as they should." But Mira stepped forward, holding up her lantern glowing with Ember's flame. "Not all of us fear you. Look, this little dragon saved us. His heart is braver than any of yours." The dragons murmured among themselves. Some lowered their heads. Ashamed, Ember stood tall. For once, the laughter didn't matter. His smallness didn't matter. He had done what none of the others had dared. He had listened to his heart. In the days that followed, something changed. The dragons no longer attacked the village. Some even grew curious, watching from the mountains as humans farmed and sang. Blaze eventually left, too proud to accept change. But others began to respect Ember. "You are small," one dragon told him, "but your heart is mighty." The villagers welcomed Ember as a friend. Children played around him. Mira rode on his back, and he became the guardian of the valley, not with fire and fear, but with love and courage. Ember never grew as big as the others. His wings never became massive. His roar never shook mountains. But in every heart, dragon and human alike, he became the largest of them all. Because sometimes, the smallest dragon carries the biggest heart. Thank you for staying through to the Yendi. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel now, and also feel free to comment and make a suggestion about anything or any story of your interest.